If a man wants to practice polygyny, you get stuff like, oh, he just wants to feel his desires or his lustful desires, or he can't control himself. One, I'm going to tell you to shut up. If you're somebody that's that ignorant to think that people aren't having sex outside of marriage, that we live in a society that is over-sexualized, where the average age of Americans in general losing their virginity between 14 and 16. Yeah, teenagers, early to mid-teens. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Peace. It's Coach Nazir, one of the authors of Let's Talk Polygyny Uncensored, as well as one of the founders of Outstanding Personal Relationships. Now, I'm the coach that helps people get their shit together. So with that being said, I want to talk about something that really exemplifies the mindset that needs a total shift. There was a question that was into us, and it was so important. I felt, I need to respond really with a video on this. And then if one of my wives or both of them choose to respond, they can definitely feel free. This is an important question, very important question, because when it comes to polygyny in particular, all right, meaning a man who marries more than one wife or has more than one wife, there are certain steps that we recommend. There are certain best practices we recommend. And one of those best practices is to have an open, honest conversation with your spouse about it, okay, about your intentions. As the man, have an open, honest conversation about it prior to getting married. And as the woman, being mature enough to have an open, honest conversation about it. Now, that's a best practice. Not necessarily in every situation. Matter of fact, I didn't do that initially. I married and then I let my wife know. Whether y'all like that or not, doesn't matter. We dealt with it, but it's not best practice. It can cause issues, emotional challenges, and everything else that we dealt with really in my chapter 1 in polygyny. Right now, we're in our chapter 11. So with that being said, though, there's best practices. And then there are other things, and there are anomalies that can go against that. Let me talk about it for example. We got a question on our YouTube channel at Outstanding Personal Relationships. And it says, the sister, she asked the question, for 8 months, it was understood by a current wife that her husband was going to marry a second wife. She said she was okay with it. And she went to counseling, she watched lectures, she spoke with others in the same type of situation, married in polygyny. However, when it was brought up in conversation by another party, the date of the marriage, which was to be the following week, she cussed her brother out. She packed up the kids and went to her mother's house and gave him an ultimatum. Where it's either the incoming wife or her and his children. And that instant, all the planning, gathering the items for the wedding and everything else were all done. All of this stuff was done, but it was done in vain because the brother told the sister we plan to marry, that he can't marry her, although he wants to, but he can't be without his children. Right? So the sister asked, how does the sister that waited, was kind and spoke friendly with the current wife over text and stuff in cordial tones, how does she pick up the pieces of her broken heart and move on? How she pick up the piece of her broken heart and move on? See, there are a lot of pieces here. There's a lot going on here. And I tell brothers, because they asked me, well, how should I do this? Or should I do it married first? Or, should I just go ahead and have a discussion? I told you best practices when I started this video, right? So here's my thing. Sometimes you do not know the level of, to put it plainly, evil. Evil. Because in my opinion, that's what this is. Despite the hate, the evil, all of that stuff came out right here. You let somebody go on for 7 to 8 months. They talk to you first. They follow best practices. You already knew it. They planned it with the counseling, lectures, and everything else. Maybe some other third party got into it, want to start a fitna. Maybe, I don't know. But you were in agreement. For those who say, oh, I want to talk to the current wife. You don't know what the current wife's agenda is now, do you? Whether they want you to marry him or not, all of a sudden this can go from a great man that she loves and is in a relationship with to being a punk, to being somebody worthless that she just wants to hold on to. Heard of those stories too. So sometimes when you say, I want to talk to the current wife, if you're considering polygyny, may not be the best deal because she might not want you around. But regardless of that, there are a lot of these hypotheticals. this happened in this situation. So to carry somebody on for months and months and months, and then to come a week before, I'm going to take the kids and try to use that as leverage, that's a whole nother level of evil to me. That's a level of evil to me. That's what I see as evil. Because the other part now, I let brothers know when they ask, should I say this or should I wait or should I do this? I'm like, look, you need to make a determination whether or not you're going to practice polygyny. All right, because it's going to require courage on your part. It's going to require growth. You're going to be experiencing dynamics you have not experienced before in monogamy. So if your desire to practice polygyny is so strong, then you need to make a decision on whether or not, A, I'm going to marry somebody else. All right, so I'll marry again, practice polygyny, and risk divorce, risk spite, evilness from someone, threatening to take your children. Are you going to risk that? All right, which is nothing but a power play. Or are you going to just say, you know what? I'm not going to go ahead and get married, not going to risk that, and I'm just going to go ahead and be a monogamy and resent my current wife. When I'm talking about power shift, one of the things that we don't really look at in society at all is this bullying or this shaming that happens of men in particular. If a man wants to practice polygyny, you get stuff like, oh, he just wants to feel his desires or his lustful desires, or he can't control himself. One, I'm going to tell you to shut up. If you're somebody that's that ignorant to think that people aren't having sex outside of marriage, that we live in a society that is over-sexualized, where the average age of Americans in general losing their virginity between 14 and 16. Yeah, teenagers, early to mid-teens. Then marriage is not even part of that equation. So simply practice polygyny to have sex and your desires, that's a part of marriage anyway. But if you're already married and then you say that, did you dare say, my husband, he just want to go ahead and have sex, so that's why he married me? So let's not diminish marriage here. That's a part of bullying. That's a part of trying to exert your power. And then for the women say, well, I'll be all four of his wives. I'll be that. You can't even be, sweetie. You can't. You can't. You're not equipped for that. All right? In general, a man's sex drive is stronger. So let's just talk on a pure biological level. Doesn't matter your religious background or anything like that. But this is a form of bullying. See, because you're not available every day of the month, for every month. You're not even available every day during pregnancy, or even especially right after pregnancy. Right? Nah, you're not. We ain't built the same. We're different. And we have different responsibilities. But this type of bullying goes to an extreme when it comes to this point. This man's own children. And it has happened. Many times it's a threat to try to exert power and control of somebody else's decision. See, that decision was given solely to the man. But as a man, you got some responsibilities because you have to answer to Allah Ta'ala, a higher power. And I'm talking about practicing Islamic polygyny. So my wife, we don't live in the same house and stuff like that. Yeah, we are together quite a bit, but they have their own homes and stuff like that, the way that we practice polygyny. And we can be married up to 4 simultaneously. But it's marriage. Whole lot of responsibility that goes in that. It's not just some sex thing. So it's a part of bullying when a woman says something like that. And then a man is like, that's just my... Listen, if you're a man, you have a stronger sex drive than a woman, that's the way you're created. We are created with a desire in us for women to begin with. Now, how we exert and utilize our energies is really up to us, whether or not we practice pro-morals, like we talk about. Outside of personal relationship, we're about pro-morals. I don't care if you practice monogamy, polygyny, or something like that. Do something morally, have some values, and be a man of value. Very important. So, bullying. So, when somebody says, I'm going to take the kids from you, that type of threat, this is somebody that's supposed to be your ace. This is somebody supposed to be your best friend, your closest companion, your wife. And is threatening you with your own children. That's why I say it's evil. That's exactly why I say it's evil. It's very evil. It's extremely toxic. Now, some decisions have to be made by that man. Either you're going to accept that type of behavior, live with that person and resent their actions and their position to control you, utilizing that as a manipulative move, or you're going to really evaluate the whole situation or whether you want to be married to something like that. Me personally, I know what the answer is for me. I can't answer it for other people. But if you want clarity about that type of behavior, I remember it happened a few years ago. A brother let his wife know. She got upset. They talked about some things, and she got mad, went to her parents' house and everything else. And he talked to another sister. She was in a different country, went to another country, about to do everything, and so on and so forth. And I believe they got married. Then he chose a divorce her shortly thereafter because the person was acting a plum fool. You know, again, religion is not for everybody. You have to exert courage. Now, religion doesn't mean you are going to stay married either. You can marry 2 women, and now all of a sudden you're no longer married to one of them. Or marry more than 2, and something happens. Each marriage is its own individual thing. But as a man, you got to be the one to do the job. You have to make that decision. You can live in 20, 30 years married to somebody and resent them the whole time. You're a monogamy. It is what it is. That's your decision. Live with it. You being willing to take emotional manipulation or threats against your manhood with your family, with your own children, that's a decision you have to make, whether or not you want to be around somebody like that. As for the sister picking up her heart rate, you're responsible for that too. There had to be signs. This is not something that's usually just all of a sudden sporadically happen. Maybe to her it was a surprise, but you would know your wife's temperament. And if she's the kind that's cool, calm, and cooperative and everything else, you probably want to watch the food that you eat in that case. I mean, they have Dateline in 2020 that lets you know what happens with these type of individuals sometimes. Not saying she's like that, but many times those quiet ones that are real cooperative that all of a sudden do something way out left, it may not be something that's clicking properly. Now, then you have those who also bully with, you have to understand how a wife feels about it. Yeah, you do have to understand as a man. You should understand. You should want to reassure and everything else. But I'm going to tell you something. The one who designed me is Al-Hakim, the most wise, the all-knowing. And there's something in every single scripture talking about the wisdom of polygyny, meaning a husband having multiple wives. It doesn't matter if we talk about Sarah from the Old Testament in the Bible, if you will, or in the Quran talking about Hajar, Prophet Ibrahim's wife who had his first son, Ismail. All right, whether you're talking about him, whether you're talking about Prophet Dawood, whether you're talking about Prophet Yaqub or Jacob and David, whether you're talking about Prophet Solomon, who said has 700 wives, 300 concubines. Of course, we don't do that. And Muhammad Islam is our example. And Islam simply came to regulate and restrict polygyny to 4 marriages at one single time. But the one who created me recognized that polygyny, or let us help us recognize that polygyny is a solution. It's not the solution. It's not for everyone. But simply because someone may be hurt by something temporarily, because they don't understand the wisdom in it or choose not to, does not mean it now negates the wisdom behind it. Not at all. It just may mean maybe it's not for you. Maybe you need to mature a little bit. Maybe you need to see a whole bunch more than yourself in recognizing the greater good for society and our community and our nations comes with solid structures of marriage with men who are qualified to lead than those who capitulate to emotional manipulation. So since I don't have any direct thing on how to get over a broken heart, I don't. I'm talking more to the men, and I apologize for that. But this is a very important question. Perhaps I'll speak with my wives, and they'll also respond, maybe by video. But this question was deep because it happens more than you know. But I'm speaking to the brothers. Don't try polygyny. Don't consider polygyny if you don't have the courage enough to recognize there may be repercussions, whether they're right or they're wrong. If she does something like this, if she goes, brings your kid, take your kids away and takes them out the house and all that kind of stuff, that's something you married, you dealt with. And you're going to have to deal with that should she choose to do that. Or maybe that's just a threat. That's the only lever she feels she can have to control your decisions. To control your decisions. Think about that. Think about that. And choose wisely. Whether it's sitting with resentment, whether it's divorcing and moving on and choosing to live your life with women who already understand the wisdom in it, or whatever it may be, being single, I don't know. But what I do know is men are supposed to lead. We're supposed to be moving toward what's better. We're supposed to be developing our family as the providers and the protectors and exerting personal power. And if you made a bad choice in whatever marriage you are, you can try to fix it, try to work on it, try to get things together. We try to provide solutions for that and I'll say the personal relationships, but at the same time, Divorce is also a solution. It's a solution. You should try to exert everything else to try to make things work first, of course. But it's not there not to be utilized. Which of the blessings of your Lord you deny? With that, I'm going to close out. Coach Nyla, help people get their shift together. And of course, we practice GLC, an outstanding personal relationship. G is for growing intentionally. L is for loving fearlessly. C is for connecting on a higher level every single day. I appreciate you. Look forward to reading your comments and connecting. Any questions, hit us up. outstandingpersonalrelationships.com. Assalamu alaikum. Peace. Here are 3 ways outstanding personal relationships can help you.
One is by following us on our social medias. Follow us on IG at Outstanding Relationships and on Facebook and YouTube at Outstanding Personal Relationships. And make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell.
Number 2, make sure you head over to outstandingpersonalrelationships.com and subscribe to the email list. From there, you will get downloads as well as updates, any and all updates. And you also get an update on the release of our new book, Let's Talk Polygyny Uncensored.
Number 3, if you are serious about polygyny relationships and really developing fulfillment and happiness, make sure you register for our Relationship Mastery Inner Circle, which is members only, which includes downloads. It includes access to us live on a weekly basis. So that's at outstandingpersonalrelationships.com/RM. We'll see you soon. Assalamu alaikum.
Peace.